The Rams have informed Cooper Kupp that he will not be with the organization in 2025. Something we knew was coming downstream, something we've been talking about in terms of the impact to Jordan Whittington, our little sleeper darling that we're going to be drafting in the late rounds of fantasy football drafts. And he'll climb. People are going to get all excited about Whittington. Keep in mind, Whittington had the kind of hype that Puka had. The offseason Puka came into the NFL and started getting people excited because of some good preseason work and some good camp reports. This is a very, very, very exciting player in Jordan Whittington, who showed some promise last year and really kind of fell flat according to most people because the expectation was high. The expectation that Puka Nacua set the year prior made people think, oh, we got a lot of hype with Jordan Whittington. He didn't do much, and so people ran away. Jordan Whittington is maybe going to be a moon man if we're not careful. Something we talked about last night and the night before. Get excited about him. Start expecting other people to the cat's going to be out of the bag soon. I don't know to what extent, but we're going to be on top of this before anybody else. I can tell you that right now, just as we've been the last handful of days even talking about it. This is now official. This report here, breaking. The Rams have informed Cooper Kupp they will be working with him this offseason on a trade. His time in LA is set to end, but the thing is they probably will be hard-pressed to trade him. It could happen. They'll try and trade him. They'll try and get him to a location he wants to go to, but it might make some sense to let him decide where he wants to go as well. And there's also a $15 million cash savings by cutting Cooper Kupp if he's a post-June 1 designation. They save $20 million toward the 2025 salary cap. If the Rams cut Cooper Kupp this offseason, they will save $15 million in cash. $7.52 million against the salary cap. The Fantasy Football Show breaking news edition, Cooper Kupp edition, begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show.
Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
We're going to have a lot of people that say things like, Puka Nacua is going to go up in value. He can't really go up in value any more than he already, the value he's sitting at. This doesn't really do anything for me. Cooper Kupp wasn't really taking away from Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp was not a hindrance at all. If this rises Puka Nacua's value, to be honest with you, let it. I don't think this makes Puka Nacua any more valuable. Kupp was not taking from him. Kupp was taking from Whittington. Kupp was taking snaps away from Whittington. Whittington is the one that benefits most from this. I still feel like Puka Nacua, if he climbs 2 or 3 or 4 spots because of this unrelated news to his value, to be frank, then I'm going to allow other people to take Puka Nacua. I'm not drafting Puka Nacua at 7 overall. I'm not drafting Puka Nacua at 6 overall. I love him. He's an absolute fantastic player, but he's, in my opinion, an injury risk every time he steps out onto the field. And while in best ball, maybe I do make more attempts at getting him at value higher than I'm anticipating that I want to pay right now. I admit I might change my mind in best ball, but from a redraft perspective, I'm not making him 6 overall value. There's too many other players that I like right around that territory. So this doesn't increase Puka Nacua. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't increase Puka Nacua's value. He's already to the moon. He's getting enough snaps. Cooper Kupp wasn't even getting looked at. Stafford didn't even look his way. Stafford didn't seem to care. Ziggy, off. Ziggy, off. We get it, Ziggy. We got a delivery. Fantastic. Open it for me. I don't know what to say other than, value up for Whittington. Where does Cooper Kupp land? Maybe Washington, maybe, but Adam Peters is a smart enough cat that he's probably going to go after some young blood. I don't know that he wants an old man, with a walker arriving to the facility, unless this is an accoutrement to something that has no relevance or impact to them going and getting T. Higgins or Chris Godwin. I said this last night. If it was me and I'm a team looking to get Cooper Kupp and I can get him cheaply, either trade. I do a trade. I definitely do a trade. But it depends on the cost. 4th rounder, 5th rounder, something like that. I would make a trade. Absolutely make a trade. The thing about it, though, is it would not be my number one player I'm bringing over. This would be somebody I add to my arsenal after I already bring in Chris Godwin into the Washington Commanders organization, or a T. Higgins. This would be my 3rd wide receiver. I would have McLaurin and Godwin, or McLaurin and T. Higgins, and then add Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp to the Raiders. Don't think that would be a good idea unless they land Fields or one of the top 2 rookie quarterbacks. Cooper Kupp to, let's say, the New England Patriots would be interesting for a year. I think Cooper Kupp's best shot is to go to an environment like the Washington Commanders where his quarterback can throw on a dime, that his quarterback can facilitate the football around in a way that I think will benefit Cooper Kupp. Going to a place where, I don't know, there's a lot of pain and suffering and growing pains. Him going to New England, there's not enough time for me. He doesn't have enough time for him to get acclimated and then start making a long-term impact. Like, it could take sometimes a wide receiver on the move. It's very hard for receivers to move teams. That position is the toughest position to translate in year one in a trade. And if he goes over there to get acclimated, he doesn't have time to get acclimated. He needs to go somewhere where a quarterback and an offense is so potent that the Cooper Kupp's not going to have any problems finding open receiving lanes. I think Washington would be great. A couple other landing spots that come to mind just glancing at all the NFL teams. I would say maybe if T. Higgins left, then the Bengals would be a good spot. Buffalo would be intriguing, but we just saw an older, aging receiver in Amari Cooper go and get lost in the shuffle. I don't know that Kupp would be much different. KC would be intriguing, but he could get lost in the shuffle as well there. Green Bay needs, I think, a number one wide receiver. I just don't know if Cooper Kupp's got it left. I'll say this, though. I don't think any of us know definitively that Cooper Kupp doesn't have the ability to still be a pretty damn good wide receiver. Maybe not a top 10 fantasy wide receiver, but could he be a 15 to 18, somewhere in that territory? I don't know that he can. I'm not advocating that he can. I'm not suggesting you draft him in a position where you're expecting that outcome. He's going in the 100 overall territory on Underdog, promo code Smitty, where they match your first deposit 50%. I'll drop the link in the live chat. We'll probably draft tonight on Underdog, so hit this link right now and sign up ahead of time. I'll pin the link right now. That way you can make sure you're ready to go for tonight's drafting, and they'll match your first deposit 50%. I don't know that you have to spend the kind of draft capital that's scary on any level. You could draft him in the hundreds on Underdog, right around 90, 100, 110. And I don't know if this news will make him go up in value or down in value. Like he's so washed they want to get rid of him, or is somebody going to go, oh, he's going to go somewhere and get revived. Hard to know what the fantasy football landscape is how it's going to react to this news. But what I do know for certain is none of us know. What I do know for certain is there's evidence that Cooper Kupp had a little gas left in the tank, and there's evidence that he didn't do well. So we have two things to look at. To suggest there's no line in the sand where, and if anybody doesn't know what line in the sand is, it's where a player goes from a void, and let's say here's round 10, and all of a sudden from a void they go into a must grab. There's a line in the sand for every player, and I think it's reckless, foolish, and it's just a cap. A total lie to suggest you don't have a line in the sand for nearly every player. I even have a line in the sand for Caleb Williams. If I'm drafting at the tail end, let's say we're in the 18th round and I've got no backup quarterback and he's the only one sitting there, there's a line in the sand. There's a line in the sand for Cooper Kupp. People just like to make bold statements and act like, oh, I know what's going on. I'm bold enough to say bye to Cooper Kupp. Everyone's already saying bye to Cooper Kupp. You're not thinking up something creative or new or some hot take. Cooper Kupp is a double-digit round receiver now. But there is something to like about that, because that's waiver wire fodder material. You could literally drop your 11th, your 10th, your 12th round player to pick up somebody in week 2. Like Cooper Kupp in Washington would be intriguing. And I say that because I saw and rewatched. I saw every play live. I know what my natural reaction was to his season. And I also rewatched a lot of his 2024 campaign. And I didn't see a significant drop-off. I saw less involvement that I couldn't even pin on him. I saw plays where he's streaking down the field wide open. And Stafford doesn't even look his direction. Wide open. 50-yard touchdown. Untouched. Wide open. Stafford doesn't look. No touchdown. I saw a lot of those plays. So it makes me feel like, yeah, the carryover trust is low on Cooper Kupp.
Carryover trust, COT. The amount of fantasy trust carried over from previous year.
The carryover trust on Cooper Kupp is very, very bad. It's very bad. The reason you might like a player whose carryover trust is absolute garbage is when the risk is literally nothing. His COT is awful. Awful. But his cost of entry is also as dirt cheap as it gets. So I don't mind. I don't mind investing in Cooper Kupp at double-digit round value. You shouldn't either. Let's take some phone calls. Again, if you're just joining us, Cooper Kupp has been informed by the team. They'll work with him to get him out of LA. His time is done. They'll probably have to cut him. There's a chance a team like the Commanders or the Patriots or maybe even the Steelers try to make a move, but he might prefer to be cut. Who knows? The team will save Kupp this offseason. Will save $15 million. I'm sorry, the release of Kupp will save the team $15 million, $7.5 million against the salary cap, $20 million toward the 2025 cap in general. A post-June cut. So it will be intriguing to see where he goes. Hit me with it. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Phone lines are open. This is an intriguing topic, I must admit. I personally think it is. Yeah, we've got so much to go over. Big trade news. Myles Garrett has requested a trade as well. If anybody didn't know that, the Rams have informed Cooper Kupp. Let me put this on screen too, so we can talk about that as well. Myles Garrett requesting a trade. It doesn't mean he's going to get granted that request. Just so you know, it doesn't mean he's gone. Players have leverage, but they only have so much leverage. But crazy. What's going on, Colin? You're live from North Carolina. What can I do for you?
Hey, how you doing, Smitty? I thought it would be interesting if Kupp went over to the Chargers, could play behind Ladd. I don't know if that's something that's possible since they're there in the same stadium or if that's something allowed, but I thought that could be pretty cool.
What do you mean if it's allowed?
Just since they're both in the same stadium and since they're both in LA, I don't know if there's anything like if that would optically be bad, but I think it could be a cool move for him.
But I mean, what do you mean allowed? Like you can't disallow a trade.
I didn't know if there's anything against him going to another LA team since they're in the same stadium. I'm pretty new to football, so I didn't know if that was something cool or not.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are in play. I think New England, like I said, is somebody who's going to, I think, kick the tires on. I just don't know if teams are going to trade for him. Because the NFL is weird. The coaching staffs are weird. They pretty much what's this guy saying about this guy? Oh, okay. It's like they absorb what other coaches and teams are doing. I would think for myself. I feel like sometimes NFL teams do not think for themselves. It's weird, like even the Lamar Jackson when he was franchise tag. I keep going back to that, but it's one of the most curious cases of football offseason free agency tagging, trading, draft season content we could ever reflect upon. Is that every team thought the same way because they're thinking this. They're thinking Lamar's not worth two first rounders because he was tagged, and any team that wanted Lamar could 100% offer him the fattest contract they want and offer 2 first-round picks to the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens would have, back then when they tagged him, would have had to match the offer or surrender the 2 first-round picks. And not one team did it, and it was follow the leader. And that's the way the NFL is. So I just don't know if a team's going to be creative enough to say, look, I know they need to cut him no matter what. And that's the problem, right? The Rams are wearing their plan on their sleeve or on their forehead. It says, we will be cutting Cooper Kupp if none of you come and trade. And a lot of teams just go, oh, he's going to wait. Let's just sit back and wait. There's got to, if it was me, I would just say, I'm not going to leave it to chance. I'm not going to leave it to that Cooper Kupp wants to come play for us and all that, unless it comes down to the contract and money and all that. But I'd be willing to say, let's surrender this late draft pick. And the Rams are going to be willing to do that because they want to get anything. They'll take probably a 5th or 6th, like, who knows? So, like, will the Washington Commanders rather bring him in on a cheaper deal or control the narrative and get Cooper Kupp themselves? Hard to say, but I would certainly take advantage of it if it were me. The teams that seem most likely, the Cowboys, if it was a free agent attempt move on the cheap for pennies on the dollar, I think Jerry would be interested, but not in a trade. The Carolina Panthers would be intriguing, but why go after another older wide receiver? They already have Thielen there. It's time to move and build from a youth standpoint. Green Bay, I feel like they do feel the window's there, and it's not closing, but it's the door's slamming shut and open with the wind. And they've got to make a decision. Do we need to get a Cooper Kupp in-house here so that we can develop our quarterback? Because they need some sort of guidance in the wide receiver room. It's a mess over there. I like Jaden Reed, but they don't seem to want to use Jaden Reed a certain way. If they use Jaden Reed a certain way, he'd be a low-end fantasy football wide receiver 1. The rest of these teams, Washington, Tampa might have some intrigue if, they end up just having Evans but why get older at the wide receiver position again? McMillan's coming up. I think that's going to be tough. Godwin will be elsewhere though, so it's something that I think will be looked at. Chargers, Raiders, Patriots, Steelers. Cleveland would be interesting if they do draft Cam Ward or Shador at that number 2 pick. Buffalo would be intriguing, but it's all over the map. We don't know where Cooper could land. Cooper Kupp could go anywhere. I think the one that makes the most sense is Washington, if they're also not going to let that push them out of the T. Higgins or Godwin race. If I'm the Washington Commanders, why not give 2 wide receivers to JD5? Why does it have to be just 1? But Chargers are definitely top 5 probably of likely landing spots. I would guess. I think the Chargers will be interested.
Is there any precedent for older wide receivers going someplace and finding a fair amount of success? I know Randy Moss is one of those, but I think he was a bit younger than Kupp.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about that, which is a good example, is that people wrote Randy Moss off. Just to be very clear. Not saying he's in Kupp's exact situation, but it was very, very similar vibe. And I played fantasy then. I reported on it that, like, this is something that I remember very well from a professional standpoint. People wrote him off. They wrote him off. He was not he was no more expected to play well when he went to New England than Cooper Kupp is expected to play well wherever he goes. Just so we're very clear, and he had one of the best wide receiver seasons ever under Tom Brady's command. So that's why I'm here trying to say at 100 and something overall value, Kupp's worth a grab. He's worth a grab, even without knowing where he's going preemptively. The conversation, at least right now, we could change if he goes somewhere horrible. But right now, he's worth a grab. If he goes to Tennessee and Levis stays put and they don't draft a quarterback, then no, I don't want Cooper Kupp in Tennessee. You out of your mind? Like, that's me adjusting and adapting. That's the nature of doing content on February 3rd. Look, we have to make assumptions, but Cooper Kupp in a decent environment, I'm not saying he pulls a Randy Moss. I'm just saying people forget Randy Moss was garbage going to New England. He was on his way out, and he was not. And everybody overjudged the situation, thought he was washed from the Raiders because he was in Oakland, and he looked like trash. But that's because Oakland, that's where wide receivers go to die. All right, I got to go, bro. Appreciate you. Call back if you got another one, Colin.
Awesome.
All right,
Thanks so much.
yeah,
Take care.
Red, you're live.
What's going on, brother?
What's up?
Hey, man. So what I'm thinking, honestly, he should go to Baltimore because if you think about it,
bro.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, Flowers was iffy
You're
all
telling
year.
me what?
Bateman really had a show out, but Wallace didn't do shit all year.
Bro. The Ravens have Lamar Jackson's never had a top 25 wide receiver. I told you all this before when everybody started drafting Flowers over and over at too high. I tried to tell everybody it's a Lamar problem. The last place you want Cooper Kupp to go is a place where Flowers is already there and Lamar doesn't produce top 25 wide receivers. That would be the worst place for him to go.
But think the whole picture here, bro. Put him in the wide slot. Have him do short passes with the way Cooper Kupp is made to do. And they can really develop the passing game with Lamar.
Lamar's never, ever produced a top 25 wide receiver. How is he going to start with older, getting kind of slower Cooper Kupp? It's not going to happen,
It's short
bro.
yardage, brother.
No, bro, there's 0% of evidence that this would work. Zero. It's all speculative that some new revelation would happen with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson does not produce top 25 wide receivers. He doesn't do it.
Well,
everybody was so excited about Flowers and taking him way too high. And Flowers is a really good receiver, bro. He's really good. He's a moon man. His rookie year, he's a moon man. We love Flowers. But Lamar doesn't produce top 25 wide receivers. That would be a horrible landing spot, in my opinion. That's my opinion, but my opinion's backed up by freaking the all-time history of Lamar Jackson. Go ahead. Second landing spot. Shot down.
But in the same regard, though, look how Bateman came out in the year. You know what I'm saying? Like,
look how what came out.
A wide receiver one.
But bro, it doesn't. He just doesn't produce, bro. Lamar cannot give you a consistent play. He'll rotate around.
My second guess would be Jacksonville.
Jacksonville is good from a football perspective, for T. Law's development, for probably even for BTJ. I know people are like, if it lowers BTJ's value, which would be a ridiculously dumb way to look at it, then that's great. And if anything, teams will be focused on BTJ more this year, more film on him, everything. Yeah. And so to get him another receiver would be good, but it wouldn't be good for Kupp. Kupp wouldn't have a great year.
I mean, Kupp's what, 30? Was he 31 or 32?
31. Ziggy, how old is Cooper Kupp? He's 31.
Cooper Kupp is 31 years old.
Turns
born on June 15th,
June. So 32 in June. 32 in June. But look at Evans. I mean, it can happen, but he's got to go to the right spot. You're putting him in a number 2 role in Baltimore. You're putting him in a number 2 role in Jacksonville. And you're putting him in a position where there's not enough volume, probably, for that to even happen. So, your Jacksonville location's a little bit better than your Baltimore location, but where you want him to go, bro, is a place where he can absorb as much as possible and has a unique QB situation. McLaurin's getting a little older. I think Washington would be good. I think there'd be good opportunity there. I don't know about the Chargers. I think the Chargers feel very much like Jacksonville. He'd be playing second fiddle in an offense that's not exactly... we don't know what the Jacksonville Jaguar offense could look like. Liam Cohen could turn it straight into the Tampa Bay Buccaneer offense right away from the jump. Maybe he does. Yeah. And so that could be interesting and intriguing. The New England would be a great place in some respect. You know, I might go back and forth on that. I think at the beginning I didn't love, when I first started the live stream, I didn't love New England, but the more I even look at it, the more it feels like at least there he would get saturated with targets. I don't know. I think Washington would be the best spot. I think New England could actually be, the more I look at it, probably more of a top 4 variety. I don't know where else feels great quarterback wise, and also he's not playing second and third fiddle. You know what would be the most ideal spot, which isn't going to happen because I think T. Higgins stays in Cincy. But if T. Higgins left and then he got cut and then the Bengals signed Cooper Kupp, that would be ideal. That would be quietly the best spot he could go to, because whatever he's lacking, Joe Burrow would overcompensate that piece that's missing with the saturation and targets. But I don't like him in Pittsburgh. I don't like him in unless Fields is in LV. I don't like him as a Raider. KC would look good, but it wouldn't amount to anything. Indianapolis, we don't know what the hell's going on there.
Well, what I was thinking about earlier, you hated my Ravens idea. You're gonna hate this one even more. Yeah, if the Saints can count.
Oh, come on, bro! What are you doing?
I told you.
What are you doing? What do you mean the Saints, bro? They can't even get Olave to produce. Red, what are you on tonight, pal?
Just hold on, bro. Let me tell you. If the Saints would draft, when I drafted, the Saints pick up Justin Fields, right? And then the draft actually pick up some offensive linemen, put Kupp over there with them, have a rebuild, and he could possibly be wide receiver 1 with Olave. Because, I mean, you get a quarterback that actually throw the ball to Olave and actually have time in the pocket. The Saints would have a pretty decent team. I'm not saying they'd be Super Bowl bound,
if the Saints got Fields, I would be on board with that. But right now, as it stands, I mean, you got two things that need to happen there.
No.
You got two things that need to happen there. I don't know, bro.
Yeah, 100%. But they want to go for a run, though. You know what I mean? That's the only, I think, logical. That's the place you get the most touches at.
All right, Red. I'll sign off on that once Fields is on the roster. All right, later, bro. Call back if you got another one.
Take it easy.
Jeez. Frog Feet, appreciate the super chat, my boy. Take a lap, pal, says Frog Feet. Frog Feet, appreciate your super. Let me go over to Paul from the Bahamas. Bahama Paul! What's up, Bahama Paul?
Hey, how's it going tonight?
I'm good, bro. Where's Cooper Kupp going to play?
I'm sorry?
Where's Cooper Kupp going to play?
I think the Commanders would be the most ideal spot. Not even just for Kupp, but more so for Terry McLaurin. I think that it would send McLaurin to the moon even further. With just opening up the fields in that regard. I think that would be the most ideal spot. But I wanted to talk about it because I know you said at the beginning of the show that you didn't think that this really affected Puka's value at all. I was just wondering as to why specifically, in the sense of, and I understand like his injury risk and stuff like that. But wouldn't this potentially turn Puka into almost like 2021 version of Cooper Kupp, where he had like around 15 targets like every single game? And have that potential and have a higher red zone target share and stuff like that.
It doesn't change anything because Puka Nacua is already getting saturated, bro. There's not you can't target someone any more than Stafford was targeting Puka Nacua. Like Kupp was very, very, very mildly involved. You know, if anything, Whittington's going to be more productive than Kupp was last year in his new role. So, no, Kupp leaving has no relevance to Puka Nacua's value because Puka Nacua is already flying high. I'm saying people are very reactive to be like, oh, this means something. It doesn't mean anything. If Cooper Kupp stayed, no one's scared of Cooper Kupp taking away Puka Nacua's workload. Nobody. This would be as dumb of an argument as Monty. If Monty goes down, that Gibbs is going to be more valuable. Gibbs isn't more they got to run someone else. They run the ball 500 times in Detroit. You only want Gibbs getting half of that at most. 240, 250 carries, that's the max you want Gibbs ever getting. And that's half of what the Detroit Lions do. The Detroit Lions have to run the ball another 200 to 250 times through another running back. So if it's not Monty, it'll be somebody else. So that's what's so wild about some of these reactive takes that people have naturally. Oh, Kupp's gone. Now Puka's going to go to the... Puka's already there. Stafford barely looked at him. Cooper Kupp was tailing off either physically or just the rapport's gone, or for whatever the reason. Maybe he did something he shouldn't have done relating to, the misses. I don't know. I have no idea what Kupp did to Stafford. But Stafford didn't look his direction, and it's not going to open up anything more, bro. Puka's getting fed. My whole point is Puka's going in a good spot right now in drafts. He's going like at 9, 10, 11, 12. But if he climbs to 6 or 7, I want no part of it, because nothing changed between where he was going yesterday and where he may go tomorrow and the next day. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And in Dynasty, I'm still worried about what happens when his quarterback either retires or gets washed. And that could happen this year or it could happen next year. One of the two. He could slow down or retire after this season. And Puka's one of the most injury-prone players in the National Football League because of how aggressive he is with his body. This news vaulting him up 2 or 3 spots probably will happen is not an accurate reaction, in my opinion. It's not a good reaction. It's not something you should be doing. This tells you nothing.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And as I'm just looking at teams, I don't know if they would ever be interested in trading for Kupp, but some intriguing options I think would be you have Arizona, because you only have Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride as like the main targets, and then what about Dallas? Like I don't think that they would do it, especially if they're looking to draft the first wide receiver within the first 2 rounds, as it's being reported. But I mean, that could be interesting for a wide receiver too to CD potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so Dallas, and as I mentioned, KC would be interesting, but then you realize that he'd probably just be a party trick, and he would never really do anything. KC's notorious for that. Like, you think, oh, they're drafting an RB, they're going to use him, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, last pick in the first round running back, and you're going to use him, they don't use it. Like, I just don't know. As far as Dallas is not going to... I don't think, you never know. Maybe Jerry Jones is like, I got to do something, but he would be like I said earlier on the show here about 15 minutes ago. If he was cut, and he could very well get cut by the Rams. I don't know that they're going to find a trade partner. If he gets released, the Dallas Cowboys will 100% be interested as a free agent signing, because then they don't have to take on a huge contract and they could sign him for a small amount. But Dallas will be intrigued, but only if he's a free agent, in my opinion. But you never know. You never know what these teams will do. You never know what kind of mood Jerry Jones is in. And he's so worried about missing on Derrick Henry and Barkley that he does something wilder this offseason, and maybe this is a part of that. I don't know. All right, bro.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, later. Appreciate you. Vinny from New York, then Travis, then Dre. Go, Vinny.
What's up, Smitty?
What's up?
You see Kupp on the Jets or the Giants by any chance? I could see him being a good complement to Neighbors potentially, but I think it depends on the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, like if Fields was in New Orleans, okay. If Fields is in New York, okay. Wherever Fields goes, I'm okay with it. Wherever Cam Ward, Shador go, I'm okay with it. If Darnold goes to New York with Dable sculpting him, then I'm okay with it. But yeah, he's got to have one of those quarterbacks, because all those locations don't have a quarterback, and so Kupp going somewhere without a quarterback's like saying, "What about in Tennessee?" They're exciting. No, they're not. Yeah, not excited about that. But I mean, again, though, he's playing second fiddle. That's almost surrendering that there's any hope that he could return more value than that, and maybe that's where everybody's at, and I'm fine with that. I'm not saying I believe that Kupp couldn't be a low-end wide receiver 1 anymore. The part that's really frustrating, though, is that when you rewatch all of his film, bro, he didn't look like he fell off. I just don't. It's very similar to Tyreek Hill. Like, Tyreek Hill still looks quick. Maybe he's not as quick as he used to be, but his version of quick is still as quick as anybody in the league. It's weird to watch both of their film, bro, because neither one of them really looks like they completely tailed off. I think Kupp's getting older, and he's probably struggling with injuries and stuff like that, and we didn't hear about it, and he wants he wants to play next year, so he's not really even telling us what's going on. Maybe something is revealed, but I don't know, man. It's weird to me. I think he's still got a little bit left. He's only 31 years old, and while 32 is kind of the last year, the last hurrah, 32 is typically, you could assume that 31 turning 32 is probably your last hurrah if you're a good player. So he's got a shot. He's in that bracket. He's in that range of time that's possible. That's I mean, that's, will he get hurt? Yeah, of course he's probably going to get hurt. But I don't know.
I think the most likely team to see him would be the Chargers, because that's still LA, and it's a team that would kind of fit him.
Maybe they're definitely in the top 5, I think, of being interested in trading for him. But we also got to remember that Harbaugh traded away Keenan Allen for like a ham sandwich. So why would he trade for Cooper Kupp if he traded away an older, aging Keenan Allen? I don't know. Especially Keenan Allen came off of top 5-7 wide receiver season, I think, the year prior, 2023. I think he had a top 5, top 7 wide receiver season, and you trade him away for a ham sandwich to the Chicago Bears. Like, didn't make much sense. So I don't know that. I think if he's a free agent, the Chargers and Dallas Cowboys and maybe even the Chiefs are interested. I don't know that those 3 teams are trading for an aging Cooper Kupp. That's why I think.
You think he's going to get actually traded? I feel like it just makes more sense that he just becomes a free agent.
Yeah, trading him with his contract is not as attractive as, he's free. Let's sign him to a small little deal. The only thing that would trigger a team to go get him is if they felt like he was a difference maker and they didn't want the competition. They felt like making the trade was a way of eliminating the competition and controlling your destiny. But the thing is, you got to give up draft capital and pay the contract and take the gamble that he still got it when he proved he didn't last year. And like I said, copycat league, everybody following the leader. It's just like, what's this coach think? Like, when Draft Day, I remember when I first watched Draft Day. Draft Day came, Ziggy, what year did the movie Draft Day come out?
The film Draft Day was released on April 11th, 2014.
God, 2014, just 11 years ago. I remember when I saw Draft Day for the first time. I'll be honest with you. I clowned it really hard. I love it. I play it like all week leading into draft week. I love it. It's a great movie. I love it. Even though it's cheesy. I remember the first time I watched it in 2014. I remember clowning on it with my buddies going, this is so unrealistic. There's no way coaches do that. They call each other and they ask each other for advice while they're... I started to really learn more about the way GMs and teams and owners operate. It is so accurate. These guys will literally, what's wrong with them? They'll call, like, it's like they don't know ball on a lot of levels. It's so wildly accurate how dumb some of these organizations run things. How much it's like, they're just chewing gum, sitting there, pulling their pants up in the boardroom and just, talking nonsense about some of these players and who attended his birthday party. I remember I thought that was so stupid. But there's teams
it's like those guys over in Dallas who thought that Luka trade was good.
Yeah, there's teams that literally don't know what in the hell they're doing. Dallas is a perfect example. The Dallas Mavericks. That guy, that GM, I don't know if he got out of the loony bin and he had majority ownership or majority decision making. They thought he was tucked away and he just pressed a button, because when he started talking about how, why they made this trade in Jason Kidd, who's not the sharpest tool in the shed, I'll tell you that right now. Jason Kidd was just shaking his head, looking like he didn't know what in the hell. I would have walked out. If I was Jason Kidd, I would have got up and walked out. If I was a Mavericks fan, I would have quit being a Mavericks fan.
I think you thought he was playing 2K.
I think it's weak to quit your team when things get rough. This I would understand.
This is bad.
A Maverick fan should have free reign to go into any team they want without judgment. And that team, like if I'm a Suns fan, I would open my door to a Mavericks fan, just and go like this and just let him in, without any judgment. I'm not going to look at you and go, you didn't earn it. You deserve to come to another team. Maverick fans should boycott this team.
For Evans and a pick.
This is probably worse than the Deshaun Watson trade.
No, way worse. Oh my god!
Like the Deshaun Watson trade was so bad because of the guaranteed money and everything, but at the same time, like Watson got ruined. There was talent there. It got ruined. It was a little cloudy when the Deshaun Watson trade happened. We all kind of thought there was a possibility it was going to be okay, like it could be okay. Watson, the last we saw him in Houston, he was on his way to being a top 5 QB. There was no clear Watson's going to collapse right away. You know, it's gonna be crazy. It's called
2029 pick, so it's all good.
Yeah. It's called the Fantasy Football Show. What's that mean, Kyle? What you afraid to talk about the worst trade in sports history? McLaurin.
Bell said about the ref.
Kyle, appreciate your super chat though. McLaurin, Kupp, and Sinnott. I don't know what this is referencing, Kyle, but I love Sinnott this year. Sinnott could be an absolute steal. And keep in mind, Ben Sinnott was drafted by Adam Peters, who found George Kittle, scouted George Kittle, drafted George Kittle, stole Kittle away from all the other 31 teams. That was Adam Peters' work in San Francisco, and he identified Ben Sinnott. So Ben Sinnott to the moon, and Zach Ertz is a free agent. So, all right, appreciate you, Vinny. Or is this Dre? Dre or Vinny? Who was I talking to? Is it Dre?
Talking to Vinny. I'll see you, Smitty.
All right, later. All right, go to Travis, and then I'll go over to Dre. Travis, go ahead. You're live.
Hey, I wouldn't want Fields on the Saints. I think the Saints are like a dumpster fire. I think anyone who goes there is going to be a mess. But that said, on Cooper Kupp, I think, like you said, the more obvious places, Washington, New England. Do you think Houston might take a shot on him?
Yeah.
Dell being out, and
they might be a team that might trade for him because they're like desperate and they're worried about Stroud, and they're like they don't know what's going on with their team. They got to do something big, and like I could see them maybe paying the draft capital, but yeah, that Houston could definitely be in the cards. That's a good one.
And did you mention Carolina earlier?
Yeah.
We talked about that before.
Shot it down real quickly just because, like, Thielen, are they really going to go after just a bunch of old dogs?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know.
You never know.
Get targets, but it could turn bad real fast. So.
You never know. Yeah, that's and then we had this this news. It was attached to this, but I cut it off when I clipped it because here Myles Garrett has requested a trade, and then of course the Rams informed Cooper Kupp. Those are the two big pieces of news today. Rams informing Cooper Kupp that he will likely be on the move this offseason, and then Myles Garrett requesting a trade. Now again, requesting a trade doesn't mean you will be traded, but certainly some unrest there at the current moment. So
if they do, that could open the door for them to take Abdul Carter instead of a QB and try to get that anchor back on defense. So
yeah, could be.
Could mix things up a little bit.
Here, let me hit the phone line number. Someone's asking for it.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Okay, Travis, what else you got? I'll leave you on the phone line, but I'm going to swing over to Dre after your next question, and then I'll come back to you.
No, go ahead. Go to Dre.
All right, Dre, what's up?
Uncle Smitty, how you doing?
What's up?
In Kupp's statement, he added, the team will be working with me and my family. Now, I wanted to ask you, do you think that's just politically correct jargon from the front office or from Kupp? Do you actually see players like him and Myles Garrett having any say-so and preference in facilitating like a desirable landing spot?
Sure. Justin Fields got to facilitate where he went. A lot of it depends on the relationship between the player and the team and how generous the team wants to be. A lot of the time, though, when you have leverage or leeway to pick your location, it's when you are going to cost very little. Like when you're talking about, like in Fields' case, he was a 6th round conditional to a 4th round pick. At that point, they're like, pick where you want to go, But if a team had called up and said, we'll give you a 3rd round pick, not conditional, just straight 3rd round pick, then all of a sudden the Bears would have hung up the phone and went to Justin Fields and went, sorry, buddy, we got to make a business move, and sent him off. So it really just depends. In the case of Cooper Kupp, they're probably going to be eager just to get rid of his contract period and to get any sort of compensation, because they're likely looking at cutting him and getting nothing for him. So if he can establish a relationship with a team and facilitate a trade, they'll almost certainly act upon it, because it'll be one of the only options. There will be very few, if any, teams that will trade for him. So Cooper Kupp situation, case by case, yeah, they'll definitely let him go wherever he wants.
Yeah, and what do you make for Miles?
So
I know that there's kind of like pushback and back and forth. That's a little bit of a different situation. But what do you think about that? Like
completely different. Now, players can create so much unrest that's their leverage. And in a case like Myles Garrett, he doesn't have the leverage really at all, because the value in keeping him far outweighs the likely value of trading him. But if he can, if he's a locker room problem child to them, and they're like, this guy, just get him out, like, then they'll trade him because they want to trade him. But it's not as easy to just demand a trade and get it. But if you're valuable to the team still. But this is a weird place that we're in, where the NFLPA and all the rules that were structured and are in place now to help prevent players from dictating terms, because if you hold out, you owe so much money and it's not refundable. Back in the Zeke Elliott holdout days, when he won a new contract, Zeke Elliott would hold out. Back in, like, I want to say it was like 2018-ish. Zeke Elliott would have like $2 or $3 or $4 million in fines, and they'd all get waived. And you knew that, and every player knew that, every fan knew that. The fines meant nothing. Well, they structured it so that now fines are mandatory. You can't roll them back. And so you can't sit out 3 or 4 weeks of the season anymore and just get your money. Like, it's going to impact you greatly. So the NFLPA and all the new rules were established to prevent players from being able to do that. However, even though that's now their leverage is taken away, they almost are they're trying to have the team call their bluff, right? The team still a lot of the times trade players when they're unhappy. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs trading Tyreek Hill, just because he wanted to leave. Look at Brandon Ayuk forcing the team who did not want to trade him to try and trade him, and they had 2 trades set up, and Ayuk stepped on him. They didn't want to go at the end of the day. He got cold feet, he got homesick. A little homesicky poo. He wanted his blankie and his binky, and he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave home. He wanted to stay with mama. So Ayuk cried and complained all offseason, wasted all our time, and then when he finally got his team to be like, enough's enough, we can't prepare, let's send him packing. So that's where the leverage still lies, is can Garrett make such a mess out of this thing that the team can't even prepare, and they're like, screw it, this is too big of a problem, let's get the best value we can, and let's execute the trade. So it just depends, bro. Can you get enough to warrant it being an even swap or some sort of advantage? Then yeah. But if they got to take a bath on the trade and they can't get what they want, they're not going to trade him.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you. I hope he does hold out or something, because I hate to see squandered talent like that. But I appreciate you.
Yeah, well, maybe they turn it around, though, bro. I mean, they got the number 2 overall pick, and let's see. All right, bro. Later. Travis, you're live.
I keep seeing things about the tight end Warren. How does he measure up compared to the Bowers, Laporta, the elite guys that have gone recently? Tyler Warren.
I don't mind him, but I don't necessarily feel like he's on that level yet. But I reserve the right, as always, to re-rank the rookie tight ends once we see him. You've got even Loveland, you got like 3 guys that any one of them could be, top 10 to 15 players, but I really need to see them mature and step up. This is the one position that, like I said yesterday, doesn't really translate right away, and there's no shame in not seeing the talent yet either, because it hasn't translated yet. Like, we really are guessing at which one's going to flourish and what seed's going to plant and grow to the biggest extent it can grow. Like, we just don't really know. Sometimes Bowers was ultra mature, played a lot like a wide receiver. His wide receiver skills we knew would translate immediately, but until we see another player like that, to me, the tight end position's ambiguous enough that you kind of need to wait a little bit. Once the pro days, the combines, all that are through, we should have a real good gauge as to how good he could be. Will he be Njoku like? Will he be Mayer and never really develop, or Kincaid? I mean, look how good Kincaid looked, and Kincaid's been absolute trash. It's been super disappointing. Kincaid had such a high upside. Kincaid has way more prospect upside than any of these tight ends have. And Kincaid absolutely fell on his face. It's a tough position. The position's better to evaluate after even the rookies have played. After they played, it's a lot like Laporta. Like Laporta, I love swinging in and now drafting Laporta in 2025 because he disappointed everybody. I already know what he is. I know Laporta's good, and he's such a value. So that's the way I like. I don't go tight end shopping at the rookie the rookie level in redraft at all. And if we're talking Dynasty and we're preparing, I don't know. Right now, I don't feel that there's a top 5 guy there. Could change.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got feeling with too. But it's folk season obviously, and tight ends been being talked about, and starting to see a ton of hype on more now, and so I was just curious to get your take on him.
We'll see. He looks good. I mean, he definitely could be a top 10 guy. I just don't know if I see top 5. So we'll see. As far as Cooper Kupp, if you put a percentage on it, I'll give you my percentage. Let me know what your percentage is. Phone lines are open, by the way. What's the percentage that he gets traded versus cut? I would say he's definitely 100% gone, according to the team. Anybody could change their mind. Jimmy G gave a goodbye speech, and he was gone, and he returns. You never know. But I think, and it's weird that the Rams don't even, they're not even contemplating keeping him. It's kind of wild to me. It makes you fearful that he has fallen off. Otherwise, the Rams wouldn't let a good player go when it can help them win. So that's scary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we know, using our eyeballs, they didn't use him anymore. I don't know if there's some beef between Stafford and Kupp, something wild, because it looks like. Then again, they hugged after he threw to him and connected on him in the playoff push, and they were talking about it on TV when it happened, like, oh my God, look at him hug, after they finally connected. It was almost like he's like, special case that he's like, oh my God, let's get him out on the field to get it one catch. And he caught the catch, and then they went and hugged him. Like, you did it! Like, it made you think, okay, did he fall off? But I'm watching his routes and him run and get open, and I just, it's such an ambiguous thing. There's no logic to it. There's no, oh yeah, clearly he's dropped off. It's the same thing with Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying there's value. I'm not, someone says something happened between Kupp and his wife. I don't think, even though it's a funny line that people use, I don't think so, because he was hugging him after he connected on a pass in the playoffs. Like, we did it! And it's like, but he's been wide open a lot of times. And I just don't get it. I don't understand. It makes
Could
me.
Could it just be a money thing?
I don't know. But why wouldn't you use him at all? And he was clearly open on so many plays. I went back and watched it. I can't, for the life of me, figure it. I just have hope that in the 100 overall range, double-digit round range, that Kupp has some sort of value if in Washington, if in, here. But we'll see.
And you wonder too if, does that mean that they're confident that if nothing else works out, Whittington can slide into that spot.
Whittington's
be just fine too.
He's gonna be
you know,
he's gonna be a
from
moon
positive
man.
standpoint.
He's gonna be a moon man. There's no doubt about it in my mind. He's gonna that or a midseason monster. Who are the midseason monsters? Whittington and Tucker, who I wrote down. I have them right here. Midseason monsters. But Whittington might not even be a midseason monster. Might be a monster from the beginning. At least at the cost of entry, because right now Whittington's going in the 18th round. I don't think that's going to stay that way. I think today's news, people are very fickle. Even though this is already obviously the way it was going. We knew Kupp was not going to be in LA in 2025. It was pretty well known. We talked about it every day practically. And Whittington was going in the 18th round. We just did an underdog draft last night. He went in the 18th round. So Whittington probably climbs into like the 10th round or 11th round or 12th round or I don't know where, but people are going to react to it, but that's still a value. Whittington in double-digit rounds, anywhere in double-digit rounds, is going to be good value. Whittington is the big winner here. Puka Nakua's value is unaffected by Cooper Kupp leaving. You know, I don't know why people don't realize that Kupp wasn't taking away from him anyway. It's just somebody feels really good about it. Like, oh, yeah, you know, Cooper Kupp is gone. That means, yeah, Puka's going to get more targets. Stafford didn't even know Cooper Kupp existed last year. Nothing changes. If anything, one could say maybe defenses they were kind of looking to Kupp still because of his, you know, his name and recognition. And now all of a sudden defenses are going to be, let's clamp down on Puka Nacua. You know, Whittington just takes advantage. There's something to say that this makes him less valuable. I'm not saying that's where my stance is. That's more likely than this improves anything. Like Stafford was laser locking on Puka Nacua. You can't get any more targets than Puka got. You break number one, and two, Puka's already very prone to injury. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, even Kyron, it doesn't change anything. Like, guys, everything that Cooper Kupp was absorbing, Whittington will gladly take on. It doesn't affect anybody, really, except for Whittington. I mean, Kupp was non-existent last year, bro. What was it? What was his final line, Cooper Kupp? It was awful.
He had, I got it right here. He had 100 targets, 67 catches, 710 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, 7 and 6. Come on. You think the second wide receiver there, no matter who it is, isn't getting 706? Like that is not taking away from Puka Nacua at all. The winner here and the only one with changed value is Whittington. We just got to hope that Stafford and it's going to be weird if Stafford does drop off and we're at that teeter-tottering at that point. If he drops off, some will blame it on the departure of Cooper Kupp, but it won't be. It'll be it's Stafford's time. And it's going to ironically line up with the new contract because Stafford's going to get a new contract this offseason. That's how they're going to keep him. And it's notorious when players get paid big money, they fall off. Not saying he will quit, and that's why, but it a lot of it has to do with just you're sometimes signing that last contract right at the edge of drop off. It's just how it works, especially with running backs. You know, because running backs will play great for the 4 years if they're a first rounder. You get the 5th year option, but the 4 years, and then they sign that second deal, and sometimes 4 years and they're done. You know, or whatever. Super chat from Calvin. Hey, Swift. Hey, Swifty. Better fit in Washington, Godwin or Kupp? Do you mean Smitty? Call me Swifty, bro. Better fit in Washington, Godwin or Kupp? Godwin Calvin, like I said, Kupp is an accoutrement. Godwin is an elite wide receiver too for the Washington Commanders. They could be the number one. Like if McLaurin dropped off a little, Kupp is just a small additive to the offense. So Godwin by a country mile. But if they add Kupp, they should only add Kupp if it has no effect of them getting Godwin or T. Higgins. Like, if Kupp got cut right now on the free agent board, he wouldn't even rank. He'd rank third, maybe fourth, third or fourth. Godwin and Higgins would tower over him. But good question, Calvin. I'm sure a lot of people wonder that based on me saying, that I like Washington. But I don't like Washington if it means they're not going to get Godwin or Higgins. Hell no. I don't want Cooper Kupp over Godwin or Higgins. No way. But I want both. And I think JD5, why not? Why not get them both? Calvin says thinking Godwin too. I mean, he's young. Like Kupp is on the decline. Like Kupp has maybe half a year to like 3/4 of a year left, if that. So there's just not a debate. Godwin's a young. Ziggy, how old is Chris Godwin?
Chris Godwin is 28 years old and was born on February 27, 1990.
A little older than I thought, actually. He's 20. I thought he was 27. He's 28 years old, turning 29 this month. We got a little time with Chris Godwin now. We got 2 years. But at least that's 2 years. I mean, he's still got 2 years. 2 years before we start talking about him like this and start breaching the conversation. But damn, I thought he was 27, turning 28. He's 28, turning 29. Damn. Is Ziggy right? Sometimes he's wrong. God, Godwin's that old? That's crazy. Godwin, 28 years old. Son of a B, bro. Son of a B.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was that old. On the sophomores and rookie Superflex rankings episode, you had the top 15-ish. I know the Bears are a swear word here, but shouldn't Rome be at least a top 12 guy? I mean, he's in the mix for that 12 territory, sure. But I don't put him above any of the guys I listed for a reason. As I explained with each pick, why I liked them. But yeah, I mean, Rome, look, I like Rome a lot, bro. Rome had a shot at being BTJ-like if he went somewhere else, but he landed in one of the worst situations he could have landed in. And while I think there's some upside with Ben Johnson, will Ben Johnson fail because Chicago's not a serious football team, an organization run by non-serious people with a non-serious GM. So, who knows? But Rome certainly got stunted in terms of some of his growth, bro. I don't know if he's the same player. There's a lot of players in history, like N'Keal Harry for the New England Patriots. Loved him. Such a good prospect. Got ruined. Got absolutely ruined. He's trash. He didn't even look like he knew how to play football after like 3 years of just fermenting and not being used properly. And that's what happens to you. Rome Odunze in 2 years could be a nothing burger. It's hard to know. You got to be utilized. You got to stay fresh. You got to stay on your toes. You got to look at Trey Lance. Everybody acts like Trey Lance is garbage and no one knows what Trey would have been. Like his rookie year, he started a game that had playoff contingency. He won that game, came back and won that game, earned the starting job, was a rookie. He was green, but his confidence was there. He hadn't played football in forever, since before the pandemic. And he finally got a shot, and he played well, and he won the game. And people forget how good he looked at a time. Everyone likes to just pretend, oh, yeah, because it works out this way. They saw it that way, and it's trash to think if you thought any different. Trey got ruined by his coach. Kyle Shanahan ruined any upside Trey Lance had. Then Trey Lance sat on the bench again. He did get hurt. But after a certain time frame, when you sit too long, Ridley just can't get it back. Deshaun Watson, you lose everything. You lose everything. Time ruins everything. N'Keal Harry got ruined because he was never used. So, Odunze's not safe just because he came out with a boatload of talent. Chicago's got to make sure they get the most out of him or he'll turn into N'Keal Harry. And I love Rome Odunze. He just needs to be used.
And that's going to be the tough part is with, even with Keenan Allen gone, DJ Moore's still there. And like you said, Ben Johnson's new. And so it's like, he's not guaranteed to get, those 8 to 12 targets a game. I mean, hopefully, you would think they do it, but kind of got to see it.
There's a lot of players that got hurt that could have been amazing. Akili Smith, What were some of the running backs? What was that guy's name? I'm blanking right now. Cardinal running back, Beanie Wells. Kajana Carter, Beanie Wells. Bo Jackson was great though, Matto. He come on. Kajana Carter was definitely one of them. Wide receiver Charles Rogers, was it, for the Detroit Lions? He broke his collarbone, came back, broke his collarbone again, and never returned. Like, Charles Rogers could have been a top 5 wide receiver. He could have been St. Brown. Ironically, in Detroit, could have been St. Brown level good. Charles Rogers, he was so good. Sometimes injuries take players out, and they never are able to get their way back. And sometimes situations take players out, whether it be remember how good, Javid Best was good. Remember how Lee Suggs for the Cleveland Browns, I loved a lot. He had a thin spinal cord or spinal column, and so he had to quit playing football. But Lee Suggs and Javid Best both had the tremendous amount of talent that could have been an elite top 5 type player. What was the other player?
I'm trying to think. Who else was there over the years?
There's another player I was going to say. Anyway. So hopefully Rome. I was going to say Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon was going to be, and again, it's not always injury. It's just not being used or being shelved or being hurt or whatever. It's time. You take time away from a player, year or 2 years away from a player, even if it's just on the bench not developing like N'Keal Harry, or you take time away from a player like Josh Gordon or Deshaun Watson, their skills vanish. Everybody catches up to him. Andrew Luck retired on top.
Josh Gordon was a perfect example because you really saw it because he was, he blew everybody away for those couple of years, and then he goes away for a year or two. When he came back with the Patriots, there, you saw there were still little glimpses, and he still had a game here or there, but he would just hold right down to the level playing field with everybody else, just from being gone for those couple of years.
Josh Gordon could have been the number 1 wide receiver in the league. It was just crazy. All right, hey, I'm gonna jump. I'll be back tonight to probably draft. We'll see you tonight, Travis.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, later. All right, guys, appreciate all of you. Thank you for the super chats. Calvin, appreciate your super chat, my boy. Thank you, Frog Feet. Thank you, Kyle, for the super chat. Appreciate all 3 of you dropping super chats here on the channel. Appreciate every single one of you. Cooper Kupp is out of L.A. this year. We just don't know if he's getting traded or cut, but the Rams informed Cooper Kupp he will not be returning, and they will work with him to try and trade him away. Big ups for Jordan Whittington. Unchanged value for Puka Nacua from an actual objective perspective, but people will value him more now, and so you've got to ask yourself if you're willing to pay the price on an increased value when nothing changed for Puka Nacua. He's getting the same amount of massive targets that he was getting. Cooper Kupp had 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. He took nothing away from Puka. Stafford is maybe dropping off soon. Is Puka Nacua more of a redraft, player than a dynasty player from the value range that you got to draft him in? I say yes. I say Puka Nacua is probably somebody I'm trading on the absolute high. Even though I love him for 2025, I'm trading him on the absolute high in Dynasty because of the likelihood of Stafford eventually falling off by the end of this year or next year. Maybe he has 1 year, maybe he doesn't. And the likelihood of Puka Nacua injuring himself every single time he steps on the field because of the aggressive style of play, or landing on his arms, just recklessly putting his body in the worst positions a human being possibly can put their body in. He's more likely to get hurt in 1 game than most players are on half a season. That's how much he puts his body in the way of everything. I'll see you all. Appreciate you. We'll draft tonight. Hit that link that's in the live chat and smash that link to get into the drafts tonight. Underdog promo code Smitty, link in the description. I'll drop the link in the live chat one more time, but it's in the description and it's pinned in the live chat. But there it is again. Just click that link and sign up so you're not scrambling to try and get into a draft with us tonight. I'll see you all tonight.
Through sheer science and intense aerodynamic study, the mullet of Puka Nacua has been reconstructed inside the Fantasy Football Show studios. This systematic balance of hair volume, mixed with both Quantum Atom fiber technology and L'Oreal shampoo and conditioner, creates a floating mechanism to which the world has never seen. Patent pending. To see this prototype in action, see Puka on Sundays as he floats around the field.